Welcome to the deep dive, everybody. I bet you're here because, like me, you're finding this whole electric vehicle thing pretty fascinating. It's a wild world out there.
It really is.
So we're going to really get into it. Yeah, like who are these big companies making moves? Is it just hype or is this the future? And well, what does all this mean for, for us regular folks?
Right.
Just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, one company, just one, sold over 1.3 million electric vehicles last year in 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, and globally, some experts are saying we could be looking at over 71 million electric vehicles sold by 2030.
That's a pretty big jump.
So yeah, buckle up. Things are about to get interesting.
It really is a huge shift. I mean, even just a few years ago, electric vehicles felt like, a bit of a novelty, something futuristic, but not something most people would actually consider driving.
Yeah, like they were kind of for like early adopters and tech enthusiasts, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not really practical or affordable for the average person.
And definitely not profitable for the companies making them, right? I mean, what changed?
Well, I think the biggest change is the sheer scale of the growth. We're not talking about a niche market anymore. In 2023, over 14 million electric vehicles were sold worldwide.
14 million. Wow.
Yeah, and get this. That's 18% of all car sales. It's a full-blown revolution.
18%. That's huge. Okay, so who's behind all this? Who are the big players making this revolution happen? Is it the companies we all know, or are there some new kids on the block?
It's actually a fascinating mix of both. We've got established giants jumping into the game, and we've got some newcomers shaking things up.
Okay, so let's break it down. Who's at the top right now?
Right now, the top dog is BYD, a Chinese company that's really taken the electric vehicle world by storm. They sold a staggering 1.8 million electric vehicles in 2023 alone.
Wow, that's more than Tesla.
Yep. And their secret weapon, vertical integration. They make their own batteries, their own chips, pretty much everything they need. That gives them amazing control over their supply chain and keeps their costs down.
So that's how they're able to offer more affordable electric vehicles, right?
Exactly. And that's crucial, especially in emerging markets, where price sensitivity is really high.
Makes sense. So BYD is all about efficiency and affordability, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. But what about Tesla? They're like the company that put electric vehicles on the map, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're the innovators, the ones who made electric cars cool and desirable. I mean, remember when their market cap hit $1 trillion back in 2021?
$1 trillion. Yeah, I remember that. It was crazy.
That was a huge moment. It showed how much impact they were having, not just on the auto industry, but on the world.
It's interesting though, right? BYD is focused on affordability and Tesla is focused on performance and technology.
It's two different approaches, but both incredibly successful.
So it's not just these newer companies making waves, right? Some of the traditional car giants are jumping in too.
You bet. Volkswagen, the German giant, they're going all in on electrification. They're investing heavily in new models and trying to catch up to the front runners. And then you've got General Motors, another American icon. They've actually pledged to only offer electric vehicles by 2035.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
But it's a big shift for a company with such a long history, but it shows how seriously they're taking this electric revolution.
And what about Stellantis? They're kind of the new kid on the block.
Right, formed just a few years ago from the merger of Fiat Chrysler and the PSA Group. But don't underestimate them. They're aiming for 100% electric sales in Europe and 50% in the US by 2030.
Wow. Okay, so it sounds like everyone is scrambling to get a piece of the electric pie.
It's a feeding frenzy out there. And it's global, too. You've got Geely Auto Group from China, another powerhouse. They own Volvo. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're huge.
And then there's BMW, the German luxury brand. They're expanding their electric lineup like crazy.
So we've got China, Germany, the US. It really does seem like this is happening everywhere. But are some regions kind of leading the charge more than others?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
And yeah, if we look at the big picture, it's clear that China is out in front when it comes to electric vehicle adoption.
Really?
Think about it. 3 of the top 6 electric vehicle manufacturers we've talked about are Chinese. Their sales figures are insane.
So they're not just making the cars, they're driving them too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the government is really pushing electric vehicles, and consumers are embracing them.
Yeah.
It's a perfect storm for growth.
So China's leading the way. What about the rest of the world? What's the overall trend looking like?
The trend is definitely up, and it's accelerating fast. Globally, electric vehicle sales were around 6.6 million in 2021.
Okay.
Then they jumped to 10.3 million in 2022. And this year, in 2023, they're projected to hit almost 15 million.
Wow. That's huge growth.
It's exponential. And by 2030, we could see over 71 million electric vehicles on the roads worldwide. It's mind-blowing.
Okay, so lots of cars, but this all sounds very expensive. Are electric vehicles still way pricier than regular, gas-powered cars?
Well, here's the interesting part. That price gap is shrinking. In the US, the price premium for an electric vehicle has actually dropped from 89% in 2018 to 59% in 2022.
So the prices are coming down.
Exactly. As production scales up and competition increases, electric vehicles are becoming more and more affordable.
That makes sense. So who's winning the affordability race?
You guessed it, China. They've got the lowest price premium for electric vehicles anywhere in the world. It's clear they're determined to dominate this market on every level.
So let me get this straight. China's pumping out EVs like crazy, global sales are skyrocketing, and prices are getting more competitive. This electric vehicle thing is really happening. It makes you wonder what it all means for, the future of driving.
It really does. It raises a really interesting question.
Yeah.
What will all this mean for you?
Exactly. Like, will your next car be electric?
That's a good question.
I mean, will we even need gas stations anymore? How is all this going to change our cities and our lives?
We're at the beginning of a massive shift in how we think about and experience transportation.